Today, we have an exciting episode for you. We're going to get the inside scoop on Eric's journey with money over the past decade, or maybe two.
Yeah, it's a very sad journey.
What? Don't say
I'm not
that.
sure where it started from. No, but it's a fun journey, right?
Yeah. So I want to hear. I want to hear the whole thing. How you ended up in this industry. You know, what your sort of default thoughts about money and wealth building were when you got started, and then kind of the evolution that you went through. I mean, I think if your story is anything like mine, sometimes it was 2 steps forward and 1 step back.
Yeah. At least one step back, a couple of days, right? Some days more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted nothing to do with this industry. I wanted to run as far as I possibly could away from this industry from the get-go. My dad was he was the State Farm insurance agent out in Lubbock, Texas, and that was kind of his gig for a long time. He was a preacher right before that, and then it's like, wow, this preaching gig is not working out like I needed. I need more stable income, so I'm going to sell, home insurance and car insurance and everything else. And I remember sort of that process and him going from, I'm not in the industry at all, I know nothing about this, to holy crap, now I am a licensed agent and ready to go. So I saw it from the ground up. And strangely enough, he started that job the same age that I started this.
Yeah.
Looking back in it, but I remember watching him go through that and just the buckets of stress, just spoonfuls of stress every day, and not getting to see him much. Right at the beginning, it was, I remember he had a whiteboard at his office, and he had like those little tape lines on the whiteboard that you have, those little sticky tapes, and he had it mapped out from 5 o'clock all the way to 9:30 of what appointment am I at which time on which day, because that was his main selling season or selling time of the day, because everybody else is at work.
Mm-hmm.
And as a kid, I'm like, this sucks. Like, this is really, really horrible. I never get to see him. And then he comes home and I get to hear about stupid people that blew him off at 9 o'clock because they don't want to talk about insurance at 9 o'clock. Right.
Yeah. Who does?
And so I was like, forget this. I want to go do something creative or a little bit more design oriented. So I went sort of the engineering route of it.
I love that you're like, I wanted to do something creative, so I became an engineer.
It's all creative, right? At some level, It's solving problems, right?
Yeah.
But that was sort of my starting point with it, is I just saw the stress, and I saw the entrepreneur version of it, where I'm not sure how all of this is going to work out, but we're just going to move some things around and make it work. And then, okay, crisis averted, we're moving along. Holy crap, new crisis. We're just going to move some things around, and it made it work. And so
how do you think that affected the way you feel or the way you felt about money when you started this career?
I think it was positive and negative, right? One, it was always a source of stress. Like, you always, whenever, before there were bills that came into your email, bills came to the house. And I remember that being always sort of a stressful time. Like, oh crap, the whatever bill, right? Whatever it was. And they never talked about money, which was, I wish they would have. I sort of envy what your dad talking about cases over dinner at night kind of story, right? That most of it was just, we didn't talk about it, but I saw the stress of it. Like, I saw the result of it. And so I saw the stress half of it, but then I always also saw the positive end of it of, I don't know, it always just worked out. You know what I mean? That sort of, we'll just move some things around, make some things work, everything will work out, and we're going to be fine and move on. And so I think it was a pro and con on that side.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like as much of a game as it did it's just a problem to solve today. If that makes sense. And so I think that was a pro and con, but I think that pushed me, especially going into a W-2 job, to be very linear with it. Right.
You wanted really stable, predictable.
Right. But then I had enough of that entrepreneur beginning of like, if I do this, I can make more. And if I do this, I can do this. And going through sort of W-2 world, of that hellish world of, I'm working really, really hard, or I work not at all, and I still get my 1% raise or 2% raise. Like, there was no direct tie to effort.
Yeah.
And so I think that predictability was fine but there was no upside. There was no ability to create. And I think that's what drove me back into this eventually.
Right.
Because I remember having that conversation with your dad. I was like, yeah, I don't know if I can do this, right? But I like this idea of creating something for myself and creating something where I can make a difference in the world. And he's like, well, we're not selling pens here. Like, if you can handle it here, you can do anything. And then it was like, all right, well, let's see if we can make this work. Right.
So talk to me a little bit about the way you thought about money early on, not the way you think about it now, but kind of your mindset around a financial plan. Where did that start for you? Was it traditional? Were you already looking at things differently?
No, it was very traditional. Like, I remember when the first time we sort of started talking about this idea of a private reserve system, or the ability to build pools of capital and to be able to deploy it in different ways. And the mind blowing, like, oh my gosh, why haven't I never heard of this? Right. And it's such an arrogant thing to say. Why have I never heard of this? As if you're sort of God's gift to the universe and you know all things. Right. But why haven't I heard of this? And so I remember kind of going through that, going, there's got to be a different way to do money. And once I heard that, I was like, oh, there is a different way. Like, there's a different way to orient finance. There's a different way to sort of look through that process versus
and were you
wake up.
immediately like, hey, this is amazing? Or were you skeptical?
No, I was immediately, this is amazing. And
You
and
saw
the
the
follow
data,
on,
you went for it.
well, because I had a narrow window, right? I was leaving a job. I had a nice package on the exit. And it was like, I've always wanted to go run my own shop, kind of be in business for myself. And I hated building widgets, because it was just a widget. There's no human on the other end of it. That, like, what life am I impacting by building more chips or widgets or whatever today? And once I saw that, I was like, oh, I have to tell everybody. Like, I just discovered the cure for cancer. We must shout it from the rooftops, right? And then I discovered that doesn't quite work that way. But yeah, but I think I still had that linear mindset, right? You go here, you get a job, you get a 401k, you work for 400 years, you leave the job, and you're fine, right? And that's because we never got taught any other way to go do it. Like, this is just the step, right? You get married, you get a house, you have a kid, you get a job. Like, it was just very follow the bouncing ball.
Right. Do the thing, do the next thing, do the next thing. And
Yeah.
so I feel like, I don't know, I feel like there's always some evolution that happens, in part because you're thinking about other people's money all day, but in part because you're thinking about your own as well. Where have you seen the biggest growth in your own perceptions about money? Like, where have you had aha moments? Where have you seen, like, oh, why was I doing it that way? If I think about it in this slightly different way, this whole other world opens up.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, this is where sort of the hierarchy of wealth sort of became a foundational component of it. Is I think when you're struggling and you're at the bottom rung of the hierarchy of wealth, the hierarchy of needs, and you're just trying to pay the bills and not go homeless or not get divorced, right? The whole other world, even if you know that it exists, like, it's on your radar that there's a better way to do things, I think sometimes your mind can't conceive beyond where you are, like, or it's hard to do. Like, there's a lot of work you've got to do to get there.
Right.
And so I think as I've sort of gotten a little bit better at this job and done more things, it slowly expands, not necessarily what I know, but what I'm capable of. And I think what I'm capable of has expanded what I know. And, like, they're helping each other to some extent. Yeah. And so I think for me, the biggest aha is, and it was a conversation you and I have had for 2 years now, 3. I think Mike and I have been on the same journey with you, just in a very less intense way.
Yeah.
Mike's got the more intense version of it, but, like, okay, wait, tell me about Broken Bow again. Tell me about short-term rentals. Tell me about some of these things. And then this, yeah, I don't think it works like that. Right. That pushback, right. The building of capital and some of those things. But then that shift to the idea of cash flowing assets is life, and everything else is just distractions. And in a very pure way, that's probably not the exact way to go approach it, but right. That mentality, but that breakthrough on that side of it was probably the biggest thing. And that idea that it'd be able to step back and go, look, if I have a little bit of income coming in that I'm not having to go punch a clock for, then all of my other problems start to solve themselves, right? I can slow down, I can think, I can create space in my day or space in my brain to go do more strategic stuff. When it's just fire, 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 survive, it's all triage. Like it's all fear-based, it's all triage. And I think that ability to just create space has been the biggest aha for me that I think a lot of people don't have.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of people are stuck. Like they have no ability to see beyond where they are, either because they don't have the knowledge or they don't have the resources to be able to think that next step out.
Yeah, I think sometimes it really is knowledge. And then sometimes sometimes I think you wake up and you find yourself in this space and there's that moment of, how did I get here? And I have no idea how to get anywhere else. Almost that feeling of being trapped. And I think a lot of people experience that because they don't know where to go to find someone who can help them take that next step or, get in that journey. And we talked about that this morning in our Monday motivation. Who you surround yourself with and what they tell you really impacts what you're doing. And so if the people around you are saying, well, that's just how it is, you're doing a good job, keep doing what you're doing, there's a high likelihood that that's what you'll do. Whereas if you are surrounding yourself with people who are challenging you and the status quo and saying, dude, there's a better way to do this, why would you settle for that? Then, just hearing it makes it possible. It's like all these Olympic records. For a long time, the record is X.
Right.
And then all of a sudden,
Zamparelli.
yeah. And then all of a sudden somebody does just a little bit better than that or a lot better than that. And then all of a sudden everyone else can hit those times too, like magically.
Yeah. It's the 4-minute mile story, right?
Right. Right. And so I think finances is a lot the same way. Well, I want to make sure that we stick to you. So how is your life changing? How is it like since we launched Benchmark Income Group? What's changed about the way you're approaching money and what's changed about your life or is changing about your life?
Well, I think it goes back to this idea of, and not but just to put a bow on what you said a few seconds ago. There's a great Thoreau quote: "Most men lead lives of quiet desperation," and it's because nobody told them there was a better way.
Right.
They're just slogging away because they don't want to be a traitor to where they are, to the people they're surrounding themselves with. So they don't want to separate out. And I think that's where a lot of people are, and they've got a rock in their shoe and they know it's irritating. They know they got to do something with it, but they don't, to your point, they don't know that next step. And so I think for me, that fundamental shift has really been that idea that it's possible, that without a ton of money, I don't have to be a millionaire, I don't have to be Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or anybody. I can go make these incremental movements, and it doesn't have to be overnight. I don't have to go from I am where I am to a bajillionaire with no problems in life all at one step. And you had mentioned that it's like this sort of slow climb up, and all of a sudden you got the foundation and you launch. But it's the overnight success. It took 10 years to get there.
Right.
And I think for me, that big leap forward is I can do this. It's not that hard. There's not that many moving parts. I don't have to be a PhD and blah, 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 whatever it is. I just have to make the first move, and that's building capital and then starting to deploy the capital and then being patient as it's coming back in, right? And then following the steps and making sure that it's coming in and the ratios are right, and kind of building that out. But just the ability to see that that's coming in and that those things are possible has been life-changing, because now it's like, well, I can do that again. I just have to find the next opportunity. I just have to find the next thing. And that ability to start stacking one on top of the other and sort of building this base so that, for the first time since 12 years from ago, I got married almost 12 years ago. My wife and I have been talking about getting her out of work and letting her do whatever it is she wants to go do. No strings attached. Go hang out with the boys, go deal with whatever it is that you want to go do. That's like a real possibility. And how do we do that without that fundamental reshaping of what we do every day?
Right.
Because nobody wants to go from hey, we're nice and comfortable, to, oh wait, crap, we need to go back to eating ramen. Like
Right.
nobody wants that deal.
Right.
But that realization that that's possible, and that you don't, that's why I have such a hard time with the FIRE movement, is like, who wants to go have this pauper's life
No.
just to be done? Like, that's
Right.
not why I get out of bed every morning.
No. And I think that hits on it. I mean, I think that's actually a really good place to close, because a lot of that movement is about, um, you know, deferral of gratitude, or just complete denial of gratitude. And the idea that, oh, I have $1 million and it's going to produce 30,000 of income per year. That's not living. That's not living.
Right.
I mean, that's minimizing everything and not being able to make choices. And who wants that? Because you only get one shot at this life. So why not find ways to create additional income so that you can live a bigger life rather than minimizing it? And I love that those are the changes. Like, if you think about what you really just said, you went over a period of 12 years or
Right.
longer from having a very set idea of how you build wealth, right? Putting it into 401ks and, showing up at work and being W-2 and,
Slog
having
away.
those restrictions kind of around your life, to becoming an entrepreneur, looking for ways to create additional revenue streams, laying a solid foundation of liquidity so that you've got the ability to take advantage of opportunities and weather volatility. And then
Right.
being in a position while your kids are still young that you don't have to decrease your lifestyle. And if your wife wants to stay home and like fully engage with them, that you guys are in a position to do that in a way that doesn't add either tremendous stress to you,
Right.
or require you to downgrade lifestyle, because you've built that foundation and you're adding in income streams that make that possible. And to
Right.
me, that's such a cool thing, because that it's fun for me because we've known each other. I mean, like I knew you when you and Amy were just dating.
Right.
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 And so like some of the visions for life and how we're going to build things with our families have been shared conversations as we've gotten older and our families have grown and our business has developed. And it's so neat to me to be able to watch you and your family making choices that are about what you really, really want in
Right.
this life, as opposed to, well, this is just where we are. I mean, that I think at a very human level is, for me, one of the most exciting parts of it, because it's not money for the sake of money. It's
Right.
using money to help you design your life very deliberately for the things that you and your spouse find fulfilling. Not the fleeting idea of happiness, but the true satisfaction and fulfillment. And I think that's really cool.
Well, that's what money should be anyway, right? It's not a dollar sign. It's not a scorecard.
It shouldn't be, right?
Right.
A lot of people use it that way, but
Right.
that's not the purpose. So
Yeah.
I love this. Thank you so much for sharing
Yeah.
your journey. If you're looking for us, you can find me at The Wealth Woman. Eric, where can they find you?
You can find me at Economics with Eric, both on Facebook and Instagram.
I'm so happy you nailed that one today. Good job. Y'all have a great day. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.